Hello, my name is Russell Myers. Welcome to Issues Unite. All right, so the Bureau of Labor Statistics released a report just a couple of days ago, just a few days ago, stating that 4.3 million Americans quit their jobs in August. So let's go straight to that. So, all right, the number of job openings declined to 10.4 million. Declined. I thought we were adding jobs. The number of job openings declined to 10.4 million on the last business day of August, following a series high in July. Keep in mind that in July, school is out. So the number of jobs should be increasing once school starts back, right? But no, the number of jobs declined. School starts back in August. So, and yet the number of jobs declined. All right, hires decreased to 6.3 million, while total separations were a little changed at 6 million. All right, the number of quits increased in August to 4.3 million. The quits rate increased to a series high of 2.9%. Now, the highest number of those were in food service, but that's the biggest employer in the country, basically. In August, the number and rate of layoffs and discharges were little changed at 1.3 million and 0.9%. So while they're telling you that they're hiring people are still being laid off. 1.3 million layoffs and discharges. Over the 12 months ending in August 2021, hires totaled 72.6 million and separations totaled 66.7 million, yielding a net employment gain of 5.9 million. These totals include workers who may have been hired and separated more than once during the year. We're not done yet. That's August. September. America's economic recovery has hit a roadblock. U.S. employers added only 194,000 jobs in September. And they're still trying to blame the pandemic for this. They're still trying to blame the pandemic. It's not the pandemic. So in September, they expected to add 500,000 jobs, and they added. And the economy added less than 200,000. So, meanwhile, what else do we have going on? Well, we have got tens of thousands of Americans that are on strike right now. Is that because of the pandemic too? Are they going to blame the strikes on the pandemic? You can't blame the strikes on the pandemic. All right, so this is a failure of capitalism. You cannot deny this. I don't care how bad your cognitive dissonance is. you can't do this. You can keep trying, but it ain't going to work. And so there was another thing that I wanted to talk about. I've talked about the labor participation rate in the past. So in talking about the actual unemployment rate, I've made mention a number of times about the labor participation rate, the LPR. However, there are some things regarding the LPR which I have not made clear and are worth explaining. The LPR can be affected by a number of factors. In general, the LPR is a measure of the number of Americans of a specific age range in the workforce. Yet, not all Americans in that age range are in the workforce, nor can they be. People can be removed from the workforce by voluntary or involuntary factors. Likewise, the LPR can go up or down according to societal factors that happen naturally. The first factor that one must consider is the aging population. We have known for decades that the birth rate has been declining while we see a concurrent massive surge of baby boomers reaching retirement age. Once these boomers reach a certain age, they are no longer counted in the LPR. Even if they are actually in the workforce, they're no longer counted in the labor participation rate. The result of large numbers of people previously in the workforce reaching retirement age is a decline in the number of Americans being included in the LPR. Another factor which affects the LPR is the incarceration rate. Those that are incarcerated for long periods, especially in prison, are removed from the LPR measurement. They are not able to apply for or accept employment during the time they are incarcerated. In this particular case, if they are released from incarceration at some point, these people will be added back into the LPR measurement. However, the recidivism rate in the United States is extraordinarily high, and most inmates will not remain back in the workforce for long. The last factor that I'll discuss here is the disabled population. Those that are disabled from childhood are never measured in the LPR due to the consideration that they are not able to enter the workforce. However, workers that were once in the workforce and then become disabled do affect the LPR. This is of current concern due to the pandemic and the opiate crisis in recent years. Each of these influences have left increasing numbers of Americans disabled while they were previously not disabled. The effect of each of these influences, which remove workers from the workforce in large numbers, is a reduction in the number of Americans being counted in the LPR. Basically, you can consider it like a pie remaining the same size, but being shared among a smaller number of people. Why is this a concern? This is a concern because the LPR measures only the workers who meet the criteria I mentioned before. You have to be of a certain age range, not incarcerated, and physically able to be employed. All right, so the LPR is stated as a percentage. As the number of people included in the LPR measurement declines, the percentages have greater weight. A 10% decline in an LPR of 100 people would be a reduction of 10 workers, leaving 90 workers. if you reduce the population measured so that a 10% decline of 50 workers, then you remove 5 workers and you're left with only 45 workers. This poses an obvious problem within the capitalist model, which promotes the foolish mythology of infinite growth, which requires an infinitely expanding number of workers and consumers to support that growth. This entire model is unsustainable. Using the number of workers as an example above, under the capitalist model, one must assume the same amount of work to be accomplished with fewer workers to accomplish that work, in addition to fewer consumers with disposable income to pay for the goods and services to support that model. So, the Bureau of Labor Statistics measures the LPR monthly. There is always a lag of 1 month. So there is always a lag of 1 to 4 weeks in that measurement. As of September 2021, the LPR sits at 61.6%. This means that 38.4% of the population that meet the required criteria to be measured have dropped out of the workforce, most likely by voluntary choice for whatever reason. Meanwhile, the number of workers being measured continues to contract due to involuntary reasons. Logically, what we should expect to see as larger numbers of people are removed from the workforce involuntarily would be an increase in the LPR. This becomes even more true as inflation rises while wages lag behind, leaving higher expenses with less income to meet those expenses. Logically, in the past 2 to 3 months, we should have seen a sudden and dramatic increase in the labor participation rate, as over half of U.S. states stopped supporting the federal supplemental unemployment insurance. And then the entire federal supplement ended completely in early September. What we actually saw was the LPR remaining static or even declining by 0.1%. The current LPR is a significant decline from January of 2020, when the LPR was at 63.4%. With the current LPR rate at 61.6%, that is a decline of 1.8% in the measured workforce, with no compensatory increase in the workforce being measured. This is not a reflection of workers who are actively seeking employment. This is an indication of larger number of workers leaving the workforce entirely. Yet this is not a new phenomenon. Viewed over years and decades, the labor participation rate has been declining almost consistently. Today, it remains the lowest it has been since the early 1970s, while the population has grown considerably and the average age of the population has increased, and the number of disabled and incarcerated has expanded by leaps and bounds. So you've got a higher population, you've got a higher number of people that are not being counted in the labor participation rate. Keep in mind that the LPR has no relation to the number of jobs available. Some may bring up deported immigrants into this discussion, but that is a net zero computation. Ideally, undocumented immigrants are not measured, while legal immigrants, if deported, are removed from both the workforce and the population, and so they are not counted into the labor participation rate at all. So, one good part of this, in relation to the number of vacant job openings, is what we are currently seeing, which is an increase in wages. So, all right, so taken together, we've got more people leaving the workforce, we've got more people quitting their jobs, and we have tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of Americans that are on strike. Meanwhile, the people being laid off remains static. And so, what does all that mean? Yeah, we're told about this recovery. Yeah, there's your recovery. And yeah, you can't blame the pandemic for all of this. Yeah, so while the capitalists all want to, keep on making more and more money, and the media, corporate media, is telling you, about all these jobs. People are being laid off, and more people are quitting. And most of the jobs that are open are not new jobs. They're just jobs that were there before, and people have left voluntarily or involuntarily. And they don't want to go back. They don't want to go back to low-wage jobs and brutal conditions and abusive employers. So something's got to break here. And what's going to break is obviously the model that we have been functioning on for far too long. All right, share this video. Talk about these subjects. If you can, please donate $1 a month to help expand the channel, and I will try to catch you in the next one. Well, I will catch you in the next one. All right, so I will talk to you later. Thank you. Have a good day.